My name is Rachel Hughes. I'm 38 years old. And 3 weeks ago, my husband texted me something that ended our marriage in 11 words. My mom was right. I settled for you. I was sitting in my plumbing truck outside a client's house when my phone buzzed. Just another Tuesday afternoon. Just another job. 8 years together. 6 years married. Settled. I read it 3 times before my brain let it register. Then the next message came. I deserve better than this. I didn't cry. Not at first. I stared at the steering wheel and felt something colder than anger settle into my chest. Daniel had always said he didn't care what his mother thought. Margaret had hated me from day one. I wasn't corporate enough, didn't wear heels, didn't have a degree framed on a wall. I had calloused hands and my own house paid off. Apparently that wasn't impressive enough. I typed back exactly 2 words. Message received. Then I drove home. Daniel's car wasn't in the driveway. Of course it wasn't. Margaret's house was only 15 minutes away. I walked inside the house I bought before I ever met him. The kitchen I renovated with my own money. The bathroom I tiled myself. His suits hung in the closet next to my work jackets. His expensive cologne sat on the vanity I built. His designer espresso machine, a gift from Margaret, gleamed on my counter. Settled. I started packing. Slow, precise, calm. Every suit, every shoe, every monogrammed towel. The watch collection. The framed MBA degree his mother bragged about. If he settled, I was going to make sure he didn't have to anymore. It took until almost 10 p.m. 6 years of marriage fit into my truck bed and back seat. I drove straight to Margaret's. She opened the door in silk pajamas. Rachel, what is all this? Daniel appeared behind her, confused, nervous. I kept my voice steady. These are Daniel's belongings. He texted me that he settled for me and wants separation. I figured he'd be more comfortable here. Margaret's face drained of color. Daniel stepped forward. Rachel, I didn't mean... You said your mom was right. He ran a hand through his hair. I was upset. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that. I unloaded every box onto Margaret's polished stone porch. You deserve better than a plumber, I said quietly. I'm just making sure you're free to find it. Daniel's voice cracked. You can't just throw me out. You asked for separation. He didn't follow me when I left. He didn't argue louder, because he knew. I drove home to silence. And for the first time in years, the house felt like mine again. At 8:02 a.m. the next morning, my phone started ringing. Daniel, then Margaret, then Daniel again. Texts flooded in. Rachel, please. I was stressed. This is crazy. You can't do this. I didn't answer, because this wasn't crazy. It was clarity, and clarity doesn't require discussion. 3 days later, Daniel showed up, trying his key in the lock. I opened the door before he could knock. This is my house too, he said. Not anymore. Where am I supposed to live? At your mother's, where your standards match. He started crying. I watched him. 6 years, and I had never seen him cry over me, only over losing comfort. Rachel, please, I love you. You loved what I provided. His face twisted. That's not fair. What's not fair is finding out your husband thinks he married beneath him. I stepped back and closed the door. That night, I changed the locks. $200. Worth every cent. The next escalation came Wednesday. He showed up at my job site, walked straight into a client's home while I was installing a new water heater. Rachel, we need to talk right now. My client, Mrs. Patterson, looked horrified. Sir, she said firmly, this is my house. Daniel snapped, this doesn't concern you. That was the moment something in me broke cleanly in half. Daniel, I said calmly, leave, or I'm calling the police. You wouldn't dare. I pulled out my phone. He left. Humiliated, Mrs. Patterson patted my arm gently. Trouble at home? Divorce, I said. She nodded slowly. You seem like a good woman. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that. That night, Margaret called again. I answered this time. Rachel, please, Daniel is devastated. He told me he settled for me. He didn't mean it. He meant every word. Long silence. Margaret, I said quietly, you finally got what you wanted. That silence felt heavier. Then I hung up. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. By the end of that first week, the calls shifted in tone. Less arrogance, more panic. Daniel stopped texting about misunderstandings and started texting about logistics. Rachel, I need to grab a few more things. You can't just erase me from my own house. I helped build that life too. That one almost made me laugh. He helped build the life. I paid the mortgage before he ever moved in. I covered most of the utilities because his consulting projects were inconsistent. His part-time strategy work sounded impressive at dinner parties. It just didn't cover real bills. Still, I answered once. Everything that belongs to you is at your mother's. You're being cruel. No, I'm being precise. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then softer. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Daniel, you don't accidentally say you settled for someone. That thought has to live inside you first. He didn't argue that. Because he couldn't. Friday afternoon, his best friend Tyler called me. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Rachel, what are you doing? Tyler's voice was thick with accusation. You're destroying him over one bad text. One bad text? I repeated calmly. He told me his mother was right, that he settled for me. He was stressed. So stress reveals contempt? That's not fair. What's not fair, I said quietly, is discovering your husband looks down on you after 6 years. Tyler exhaled sharply. He loves you. He loves security. That's harsh. No, I said, it's honest. I hung up before he could start crying on Daniel's behalf. Sunday morning, his sister Emily showed up at my door. She stood there clutching her purse like she was about to plead a case in court. Rachel, please, this is ridiculous. Good morning to you too. 6 years and you're ending it over a text? It wasn't just a text, Emily. She rolled her eyes slightly, just enough. It was years of your mother making comments about my hands being rough, about my clothes not being polished, about how Daniel could have done better. That text was him finally agreeing with her. Emily shifted. You're reading too much into it. I'm reading exactly what he wrote. She tried one more angle. He's struggling. He's staying at mom's. It's cramped. He's embarrassed. I crossed my arms. Embarrassed because his wife's a plumber? Or embarrassed because he miscalculated? That hit. She swallowed. You're being cold. No, I said again. I'm being clear. When she left, I locked the door and felt lighter. The financial reality hit Daniel in week 2. His boutique consulting gig paid around $1,200 a month. After his car payment, insurance, phone bill, and personal expenses, there wasn't much left. He sent me a long email Wednesday night, formal tone, bullet points, requesting I continue paying the joint credit card until the separation is finalized. I read it once, then replied with a single sentence. You settled for me. Find someone better to pay your bills. After that, I called the credit card company and removed myself as an authorized user. New charges would be his responsibility. Thursday evening, Margaret called again. This time she wasn't composed. She was crying. Rachel, please, Daniel is struggling financially. I didn't abandon him. He can't afford to live like this. He asked for separation. He didn't mean... He meant it. Her breathing grew shaky. Don't you have any compassion? I looked around my quiet living room. The walls I painted. The furniture I assembled. The peace. I had compassion for 6 years, I said softly. I won't have it for disrespect. Silence. Then a whisper. I was wrong. That made me pause. Not because I believed it, but because it was the first crack. You filled his head with poison for years, I said evenly. You finally won. That's not fair. It's accurate. She broke down fully then. What do you want from us? Nothing. How do we fix this? You can't. I hung up and unplugged the landline. The escalation came Friday. Daniel showed up with a police officer. I saw them through the front window. The officer looked tired. Daniel looked performative. Ma'am, the officer said politely, your husband says he's been locked out of his residence. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. He requested separation via text. I returned all his belongings to his mother's residence where he's staying. The officer looked at Daniel. Sir, did you request separation? Daniel's jaw tightened. Well, yes, but I didn't mean... The officer held up a hand. This is a civil matter. If the property is in her name and she provided your belongings, there's nothing I can enforce. Daniel's face went red. You're siding with her? I'm following the law, the officer replied flatly. He left. Daniel stood there on the porch like a man who just realized the script wasn't working. Rachel, he said quietly, please. I looked at him for a long moment. This was the man I loved. The man I defended when his mother made comments. The man who now looked smaller without my house behind him. You showed me who you are, I said softly. That's not who I am. It is, I replied. It just took stress to reveal it. He didn't shout this time. Didn't threaten. He just looked scared. And for a flicker of a second, I felt something close to grief. But grief is for loss. And what I lost wasn't love. It was illusion. I went back inside, locked the door, and blocked another number. That night, my brother called. I heard what happened. News travels fast. He was quiet for a second. Rach, if someone tells you they settled for you, believe them the first time. I closed my eyes. I am. By week 3, desperation replaced denial. Daniel stopped pretending this was a misunderstanding. Now it was damage control. He started calling my work's main office line, left vague messages with the receptionist. Family emergency. Rachel needs to call me immediately. There was no emergency, just wounded pride. When I found out, I felt something shift inside me, not anger. Disappointment. He was willing to jeopardize my business to reach me. I called him once, only once. If you contact my clients again, I said calmly, I will respond legally. I just needed you to answer. You had 6 years of answers. He swallowed audibly. Victoria isn't what I thought. That caught me off guard. So it was true. He'd gone back to her, his ex-girlfriend from college. The one Margaret always compared me to. Polished. MBA. Corporate job. I didn't ask, I said evenly. It's not like that. It never is. Silence. Then softer. She's complicated. I almost laughed. Daniel, I hope she gives you exactly what you deserve. And I hung up. 2 days later, my lawyer sent a formal letter. $500 well spent. Polite but firm. Any further attempts to contact me through third parties would result in a restraining order request. The calls stopped immediately. Because suddenly this wasn't emotional. It was documented. Meanwhile, the financial strain tightened around him. Emily ran into me at the grocery store one evening. We both froze near the produce section. She looked tired. Rachel, she said quietly. Emily, she hesitated. Daniel's credit cards are maxed. Mom's retirement account is taking hits. I picked up a bag of oranges and inspected them. I didn't cause that. He didn't think it would go this far. He didn't think I would enforce boundaries. She flinched slightly. He's not sleeping. I sleep fine. That seemed to hurt her more than anything. Victoria's not stable, she added carefully. 2 divorces, debt, child support issues from her last husband. I raised an eyebrow. Margaret always had high standards. Emily's voice cracked just a little. Mom was wrong about you. I met her eyes. I know, she nodded slowly. For the first time since all this began, someone in that family wasn't arguing with me. Margaret called from a number I hadn't blocked. I almost didn't answer. Curiosity won again. Her voice sounded older. Rachel, I owe you an apology. I said nothing. I misjudged you. I thought Daniel deserved someone more refined. More polished? Yes. And now? Now I see what he lost. I leaned against the kitchen counter. The same counter she once ran her fingers over, critiquing my cabinet alignment. Daniel always wanted validation, she continued softly. I gave him doubt instead. And he chose to believe you. Yes. Her voice broke. He doesn't have stability without you. That word again. Stability. Security. Not love. Not partnership. Not respect. Margaret, I said calmly, you didn't just criticize me. You trained him to undervalue me. Long silence. You're right. Hearing that didn't bring satisfaction. It brought finality. What would it take? She asked. There's nothing to negotiate. He regrets it. Regret is not respect. She inhaled shakily. Victoria isn't half the woman you are. There it was. The irony. 6 weeks ago, I was beneath her son. Now I was superior to the alternative. Which is it? I asked gently. I was wrong. Yes, I said simply. She started crying. Please, Rachel, he's drowning. He chose to swim without me. I ended the call and blocked the number. 3 days later, Daniel texted from yet another new number. I made a mistake. No greeting. No build-up. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. My house was quiet. Peaceful. My bank account was healthier. My gym membership had actually been used. I'd started planning a solo fishing trip to Alaska, something I postponed for years because Daniel didn't like the cold. I was angry. I was insecure, his next message read. I projected. You didn't deserve that. Closer, but still incomplete. Because it wasn't about anger. It was about belief. Another message came. Victoria isn't what she pretended to be. Of course she wasn't. No one ever is. I typed slowly. You were right the first time. 3 dots appeared instantly. What? You did settle for me. Seconds ticked by. That's not true. It was true when you believed it. I added one more line. Don't do it again. Then I blocked the number. The divorce papers were filed the next morning. 6 years of marriage meant limited spousal support. Temporary. He was capable of working. The house remained mine. Premarital property. No marital funds used for major improvements. Everything clean. Legal. Final. I ran into Mrs. Patterson at the hardware store that weekend. She smiled warmly. How are you holding up? Better than I have in years. She nodded approvingly. That man didn't appreciate you. No, I said quietly. He didn't. I loaded my supplies into my truck and caught my reflection in the window. Stronger. Clearer. Lighter. Daniel thought he deserved better than a plumber. Margaret thought her son deserved someone above me. They're free to chase that dream. As for me, I stopped settling too. Because loving someone who thinks they're above you is its own form of settling, and I won't ever do that again. The divorce should have been the end. Paperwork signed, assets divided, names separated. But endings rarely feel clean when pride is involved. 2 weeks after the papers were filed, Daniel showed up one last time. Not with police. Not with his sister. Alone. I saw him through the front window again. Same porch, same steps, different energy. He looked thinner, less polished, less certain. I stepped outside but didn't invite him in. He glanced at the door like he expected it to open automatically for him. It didn't. Rachel, he said quietly, can we just talk? We are talking. He exhaled. I handled everything wrong. Yes. I was angry at myself. I wasn't earning enough. Mom kept saying I had more potential, that I shouldn't settle. And instead of confronting your insecurity, I replied evenly, you projected it onto me. His jaw tightened. I didn't think you'd actually leave. There it was. The truth hiding under everything. You didn't think I had standards. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I thought you'd fight for us. I did, I said calmly, for 6 years. Silence stretched between us. The afternoon light hit the siding of the house, my house, and I realized something. He wasn't here because he missed me. He was here because the fantasy collapsed. Victoria isn't stable, he admitted quietly. She's in debt. She exaggerated her position. She's not who I remembered. And I lost you over nothing. I tilted my head slightly. Not nothing. You lost me over truth. His eyes flickered. Truth? You believed you settled. I was wrong. No, I corrected gently. You were honest. That unsettled him more than anger would have. I don't believe that anymore. But you did, I said softly, and that's enough. He took a step forward. I didn't move back. But I didn't move closer either. I miss you, he whispered. I miss who I thought you were. That one hit. I saw it land. He swallowed hard. Is there really no chance? I shook my head slowly. Respect doesn't regenerate on command. He looked at the house again. The driveway. The life he once occupied. Mom says she was wrong about you. I know. She wants to apologize properly. She already did. And it doesn't change anything. His shoulders sagged. For the first time since this started, I saw him without entitlement, without performance. Just smaller. Rachel, he said quietly, I didn't think you'd be okay without me. I almost smiled. I didn't think I would be either. That honesty hung between us. But I am, I continued, and that's the difference. He nodded slowly. I see that. We stood there for another moment. The air wasn't hostile. It wasn't bitter. It was finished. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said finally. I already did, he replied. And you told her she wasn't enough. He didn't argue. Because he couldn't. He stepped back down the porch. Halfway to his car, he turned. You were never beneath me. I know, I said calmly. He left. This time he didn't look back. A week later, Margaret sent a handwritten letter. No accusations. No manipulation. Just apology. She admitted she equated prestige with worth. She admitted she underestimated resilience. She admitted she confused polish with strength. I folded the letter neatly and placed it in a drawer. Closure doesn't require response. 3 months after the text, I booked my Alaska fishing trip. Cold air, wide water, silence that felt earned. On the dock, surrounded by strangers, I realized something surprising. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't vindictive. I wasn't waiting for karma to strike him. He was already living the consequences of his belief, and I was living the freedom of mine. Last night, I received one final message. Unknown number. Rachel, I understand now. I didn't settle. I was intimidated. You were stronger than me. I stared at it for a long time. There was no desperation in it. No demand. Just understanding. Growth, maybe. I didn't reply. Because closure doesn't require validation either. He needed to understand. I didn't need to respond. The truth is simple. Daniel believed he settled for a plumber. What he really settled for was comfort without introspection. Margaret believed her son deserved someone better. What she really wanted was status. And me? I was settling for someone who mistook my stability for simplicity, who mistook my trade for lack of ambition, who mistook my quiet confidence for dependency. Now neither of us are settling. He's free to chase polish. I'm free to choose partnership. And if someone ever tells me again that they settled for me, I'll believe them the first time.